Hello everybody, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? And today we're doing a very extra special stream where I am going to answer your questions and comments. I see that there's a couple people there already. Cody Course and 1911 Greater Than All. What's up guys? Thanks for joining. So this particular episode here, we're probably not going to go for more than an hour max. Um, but what I wanted to do is, so I made this video last week talking about the Ahmed Aubrey case, and it was mainly about how whenever there's a shooting like this, either a police shooting or something like that, usually from a white person who shoots a black person, that there's certain people that will kind of come out of the woodwork, conservatives and pro Second Amendment people and libertarians and such like that. And they will tend to do everything in their power to demonize the victim and so on. So hey, by the way, if you're hearing sirens and shit outside, I don't know. This just started like 2 seconds ago. Just suddenly all fucking hell was breaking loose out there. So I don't know what's happening. Right? There's no fires or anything like that. So I wanted to take some time and address some of that. But I see that you guys have already asked some questions, so I guess I'll just start at the top. Um, Actually, I do want to start with the questions that you had, 1911, because that was kind of what got us to even do this tonight. Right. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go here and I'm going to reduce the size of this. Don't worry, I'll be drawing and stuff while we're talking as well. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller here. And I'm going to turn on my right monitor. Nope, wrong one. Left monitor. Okay, then I'm going to go into my studio and I'm going to go look up the comments. Right, so you guys get to see, these are all my comments back here. And these are your live stream questions that you gave me before 1911. So I want to go through these first because you were like, first in line. And then Cody, after this, then we'll talk about the ones that you were mentioned, there as well. So what I want to do is make the screen a little bigger. Can I make the screen bigger? Yeah, there we go. Let's just kind of make that bigger so you guys can read them. So you know that I'm not like, uh, making this up or screwing this up or whatever. And then, let's see. Let's make that a little bigger too so you can see me drawing. All right, so what do we got? 7 p.m. live stream questions, right? Is that big enough? I don't know. I actually can't see your comments right now. So hang on one second. Let me just kind of move this to my other side here. And there we go. Now I can see, actually, hang on one second, guys. I'm just kind of arranging things here. This side I need to reduce. Damn it, it's going to just make it all... Well, anyway. I'll come back to your comments on the live stream. But first I want to read some of these guys. Okay. So here is your questions here, 1911. I guess this is like the law or whatever, right? Entirely lawful to make an arrest of a private person by a private person if simple knowledge of crime is known. How unlawful to make an arrest on Arbery when it is plainly obvious he was trespassing. I get it, he didn't actually take anything, but entering a private property without permission is a crime. Just simple suspicion of a crime is grounds for arrest. Well, I actually went and looked that up, right, in the last, since we talked. And it turns out that in Georgia, right, when it comes to a citizen's arrest, when it comes to the citizen's arrest law, you are allowed to arrest somebody, yes, right? However, you are not allowed to pursue them unless it's a felony. So the fact that he actually went and looked around this guy's house, you know. And remember, he didn't break into the house. Okay, so when you say like, you know, they kind of make it sound like he took a hammer and smashed a window, right? And please also remember that in that video, it doesn't look like he has a hammer. Okay, so the rumor that he had a hammer and was going around carousing houses to rob and stuff, that's just a rumor. There's no actual proof that that happened. Okay. Um, you know what? Please keep in mind I can't see your comments right now. So if you guys are commenting, I can't actually see it because it's like the way the screens are arranged. Like I have to make this one big and then it doesn't fit. So anyway, yeah. So that is actually a misdemeanor then, right? And sorry, there's like people on their motorcycles and shit outside. Sorry about that. Right. That's a misdemeanor. Just trespassing, right? If even that. And really, what did he do? Really, he walked in for, you know, not even a minute, you know, maybe 2 minutes max, right? A couple seconds. Just kind of looked around, checked stuff out, and then he left. And he didn't steal anything. And for that, these guys wanted to arrest him. And for that reason, they decided they needed to be armed, and they chased him down. So remember that, according to the law in Georgia, if it's not a felony, then you're not allowed to pursue, right? You're not allowed, if it's a misdemeanor, right? Then so that entire thing, that the fact that they chased after him, right, for something that they also did not witness. Remember this, that these two guys did not actually witness him there. They looked at a surveillance video afterwards, right? Then drove around and saw a guy that looked like him. So, I mean, I saw the video too, and yeah, it looks just like him. But you got to keep that in mind. It's like maybe it wasn't him. Okay, I mean, I know that's kind of stretching it because even I would say that, yeah, that looks like him on the video. But still, it's like, you know, these guys are not police officers. You got to keep that in mind too. So they weren't like really able to make that determination, right? They're just basically just followed a dude, you know, and saw a guy that looked like somebody on a video that they saw, right? Somebody that they didn't actually see walking into this house, you know, not breaking into the house, just walking into the construction site, and then, you know, decided they were going to go kill him, right? Um, so that's really what's happening there. So it's like, yeah, he was trespassing, yeah, but that's, you know, only crime, you know, that's not like, that wasn't a felony, right? So really these guys weren't allowed to do that. Anyway, second, okay, let's move on. You know, anyway, the point for that, before we move on though, the whole point there was that what these guys did, you know, the guys that shot him and killed him, was unlawful. You know, if you want to get nitpicky about it, right? If the fact that, you know, they went and killed an unarmed man, right, in a basically a fucking vigilante killing, right? If that's not good enough for you, then it's like, you know, that it also was not legal. Okay. Um, if you guys give me 1 second, I have to do something. I will be back here in seriously 5 seconds. Hang on a second. Hey, honey. Hey, the guy just called. He called back. I should have just left your phone. Hey, you, come here. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah. Sorry, we're waiting for food to show up, and they just call right when I start fucking live streaming. Grubhub calls. So what are you gonna do? Anyway, so second question. If someone takes a lethal weapon from you in a scuffle, especially under suspicion of a crime, after you confront them of committing a crime, then what assumption would you have after they take your weapon? Also, your home invader example about the home invader getting his weapon taken and the homeowner being charged with theft is stupid and isn't the correct comparison to be making. The proper relative example would be somebody already under suspicion of a crime a firearm being used against them, then the suspect attempts to take the gun, not the other way around. That is the straw man argument and totally backward to the Arbery case. Okay, well, first part. Someone takes a lethal weapon from you in a scuffle. Right. What assumption? Well, maybe you would assume that they would kill you, right? But remember, in this case, these guys were the instigators, not Arbery. Okay, Arbery was just driving, jogging down the street, minding his own business, had not committed any crime, didn't steal anything, right? Hadn't committed any felonies, I guess, if you want to be technical about it, a misdemeanor, right? So he is, remember, the victim. Okay, these guys came up to him, pointed guns in his face. All right, so like I'm saying, imagine it's you, and you, 1911, you're like a gun dude, right? I mean, you said you work in a gun store, so you know all about this shit, right? What would you do if you're unarmed, jogging down the street? Okay, assume you're unarmed, because I know you're probably going to say I would not be unarmed. Just assume that you're unarmed, right? Jogging down the street, minding your own business, and, two cars pin you in, right? And, get out and they're pointing shotguns at you, right? What would you assume that they're going to do? Okay. Or do you assume that they're actually going to hold you there until the police come? Right? Why would you assume that? That's ridiculous. So why would you put that on this guy to like act in that manner when you yourself wouldn't do that? You would, even if it was exactly that. Even if it really was some people doing a citizen's arrest because they saw you walk into a place that didn't belong to you, right? Like, why would you don't know who these people fucking are, okay? You have no idea who they are. So why would you assume that they're going to, do anything except fucking kill you? You know what I mean? No, you got to think, you got to put yourself in the other person's position and you got to think, like what actually fucking happened. And this is really like that assumption that you're saying, there, it's unrealistic. Okay, so yeah, let's answer your question though. To answer your question, yes, I would assume if somebody took my gun that I was pointing at them and threatening them with, yes, I would assume they were probably going to kill me. Okay, but that doesn't justify their behavior. That doesn't actually, so then I'm allowed to just fucking shoot them? No, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Okay, that's like, it doesn't fucking make it okay that they killed him. All right, that's bullshit. That's total fucking bullshit. Okay, that's like, like I said, you going and assaulting somebody, right? And then the person you're assaulting taking your weapon away, and then you claiming that now my life was in danger. Well, you were fucking assaulting them. They were threatening him. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, and plus, we don't know that Arbery would have killed him. I mean, yeah, you can assume so, right? I'm sure that Arbery was assuming that these guys wanted to fucking kill him. You know, and it was a correct assumption actually, right? So anyway, my home invader example, I don't think that's wrong. I don't think my home invader example is wrong at all because these guys, right, who remember were not cops, okay? These guys were the perpetrators in this case. They were the aggressors, okay? They were not the victims. They're the ones that caused this problem, okay? They're the aggressors. They fucking shot a guy in the middle of the goddamn street for walking around inside of a house and not stealing something. That's why that guy died, okay? Because, why? Because they went out and said, hey, look, there he goes. There goes a guy. And, for all they knew, it could have been the wrong guy. There could have been two people walking around dressed like that, all right? They didn't investigate anything. They didn't, check anything. They just drove around. So, something you said in one of your comments was that the cop, the ex-cop, rather, knew Arbery from another case. How do you fucking know? How do you know that? And then how would he be able to identify him just walking down the street? Hey, there goes that guy I arrested one time. It must be him. What the fuck kind of half-ass investigation is that? That's not an investigation, all right? This is why, it's not allowed. That's why that shit is not allowed. That's why you're not allowed to go be a fucking vigilante. It's nice, it's awesome when you read it in a fucking comic book, right? But, real life is not the Punisher, okay? Seriously, these fucking dudes, they're not Batman. They're just like two assholes, that fucking went out and shot a black guy and didn't even get fucking arrested for it. So that's not, it's not a straw man. Does my example is not a fucking straw man. My example is pretty accurate, I would say, to what actually fucking happened. All right. So let's go on. Move down some more. Provided two of the four people involved with the attempted arrest of Arbery stated that if you are under arrest at gunpoint, it is smart to fight two deformed armed people over a trespass at worst case scenario. Would it have been better to simply call their bluff and wait for the police to come? Well, you know, that's what you and I may have done. We may have looked at that and said, gee, I can't fight four guys, especially if two of them have shotguns. I most probably wouldn't have tried. I probably would have tried to run, right? But, maybe this guy Aubrey figured that he didn't have a chance to run. It looked like in the video that he tries to run away, right? And he's, penned in. So remember, the people filming it are behind him. They, cut him off. He doesn't know. He knows that the two people in front of him have guns on him. He doesn't know that the guys behind him don't have guns, right? Maybe he figured he couldn't run away that way. Maybe he figured I'm not going to die like a coward on my knees while four white people fucking drag me behind a truck and lynch me and shit. Maybe that's what he thought. Who knows? Who really knows what he thought? It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that, he decided that he was going to fight and not, let these guys kill him without a fight. And too bad they ended up killing him anyway. I mean, here's the thing. What if he lived? What if they shot him and he lived? What do you think? Do you think we'd be having this would even be in the news right now? Chances are he probably wouldn't have gone to prison for anything because he didn't commit any fucking crime. It's like the fact that he's dead. We don't have his side of the story. And this is the same thing that happened with Trayvon Martin. We do not have Trayvon Martin's side of the story. All we have is the guy who murdered Trayvon Martin to say what happened. Same thing here. And the fact is we have a video here, so we know, that this guy Arbery didn't attack them first, right? We know that he didn't run up to a truck and try to fucking kill them or any shit like that. We know that he didn't even commit a crime. He didn't steal anything like they fucking claimed that he did. And you got to remember that when this first happened, they claimed this guy was a thief. And then it's oh, lo and behold, the video that comes out, that shows him just kind of walking around looking at stuff. Yeah, well, maybe that's annoying and you don't like people looking at your shit, but that's not illegal, I mean, I guess only in the most technical sense, trespassing. That's like a ticket for crying out loud, right? You're not allowed to go blow somebody away for fucking looking in your house. Sorry, dude, that's bullshit. So, see here, when you have this word trespass all in big ass letters like that, that's because you think it's this big ass crime. It's not. It's a misdemeanor. All right? Misdemeanor is a ticket, okay? You don't go to prison for misdemeanors. All right? You get a fine. Okay? And according to Georgia law, you're not allowed to go chase somebody if they commit a fucking misdemeanor, to do a citizen's arrest. So just that in and of itself, the fact that they chased him, right, means that it's open and shut. These guys are going to prison. At least they should be in fucking prison because they're not allowed to fucking do that. And they escalated the situation, right? They escalated a situation where they didn't have legal grounds to do anything. And somebody ended up dead. They're responsible for this guy's death. And if they would have obeyed the fucking law, he'd be alive. All right? And, let's say he was a thief. Let's say he was cruising the place looking to fucking rip people off. Then why didn't they just call the cops? Why didn't they follow him, call the cops, say, here he is, right? Why did they get out with their guns, to fucking hold him hostage? Okay, and you got to remember, so the person that had that house and there was stuff stolen reported, right? Not at that place. You got to remember, not at that place, right? But the owner of that place said that in the past things have been stolen from him, and the thing that got stolen was fucking fishing tackle. Okay, so remember that he died because of fucking fishing tackle, right? Which he probably didn't even steal. somebody else probably stole it. You know, we have no proof that he stole it one way or the other. So it's like you can't assume that he stole it just because he walked into the place and looked around. You know, absolutely fucking ridiculous. But according to this, he should be dead. You know, according to this, it's justified to kill him. Get the fuck out of my face with this, dude. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Right. Would it not have been better to call their bluff and wait for the police? Yeah, well, maybe. Too fucking late now. We don't know. All right. It's probably would have been better, but it would have been even better if they never would have followed his ass in the first place. Because that's what the law said. That's how the law was set up. The law says they weren't allowed to follow him. They followed him anyway. All right, number 4. Would you give the benefit of the doubt to a 2-time convicted criminal, Arbery, or 2 of the 4 people without criminal record who previously worked with the DA that prosecuted the suspect you are pursuing? Arbery's criminal record is irrelevant because he was not committing a crime. Okay. The video did not show him committing a crime. These 4 guys that followed him, right, and ultimately murdered him did not witness him committing a crime. So it doesn't fucking matter if he had a record or not. See, this is what I was talking about in that prior video when I said that, you know, you demonize the victim in order to make him into the aggressor. And that's exactly what you're doing right there. You know, this is what you're doing. You're saying, oh, well, this guy had a record. Okay, so we know that he was a criminal. That doesn't matter, okay? Like I said before, he could have been fucking Al Capone, all right? He could have been Osama bin Laden. It wouldn't fucking matter. If you don't see him doing it, if you don't witness somebody doing it, right, you're not allowed to detain someone. You're not allowed to do a citizen's arrest. If you don't witness them do it, okay? And they say, well, if you have intimate knowledge of them doing it. Well, you know what intimate knowledge would be? Actual proof, all right? Not, hey, look, there goes a guy that looks like somebody who stole some fishing tackle, maybe. Right. Or look, there goes a guy that looks like a dude on a surveillance camera that walked into my place and looked around for a couple seconds and then left without taking anything. That is not intimate knowledge of a crime. Okay, that is intimate knowledge of a crime not being committed. All right. So when you say fucking, you know, intimate knowledge, they didn't have intimate knowledge. All right. You know, of trespassing. Right. So I mean, were they gonna like trespassing, right? So were they gonna like hold him so that the cops could come and give the guy a ticket? Fuck no. That's not what they were doing. Don't try to claim they were. That's bullshit. So don't. Anyway. Alright, obviously you believe in gun control. I do. So the concept of background checks basing gun ownership on previous criminal records is inherent to you. Yeah, maybe. Odd that presumably wouldn't apply in attempting to make an arrest and judging someone's actions while under suspicion of a crime. Yeah. Well, did they know that he had a criminal record? I mean, you said that the guy, the cop, knew who he was, right? Because he arrested him before. Did he know who he was exactly right there, right? We have no way of knowing that, you know. But secondly, like I said, that's irrelevant, you know. They didn't do a background check on him before they went and, like, tried to detain him. Okay, before they went to do a citizen's arrest on somebody, right? No, they didn't, okay? It's not like the one dude who was an ex-cop, like, went out and then, like, you know, got a background check done on him from his fucking, like, buddies in the force or whatever. No, that's fucking bullshit, okay? That came afterwards, right? People investigated afterwards because they wanted to find out who Arbery was, right? Because they wanted to do exactly what you're fucking doing, which is to try to make him out to be a criminal so that people wouldn't feel bad about him getting shot and killed. That's where that fucking came from. Because it shouldn't, like I said before, it shouldn't matter. It's irrelevant. All right? It's irrelevant. You're not allowed to just go kill somebody because you think they did something wrong. That's not, you know, that's bullshit. All right? Anyway, so, you know, here's the thing, okay? This part right here where you say this, I do agree to it if you're a police officer. Okay? The police are allowed to do this, you know. Go get a background check on somebody, right? See if they have a previous criminal record, you know, and then go pick him up if he, like, committed a crime. Like, oh, shit, hang on, go back. Right? That's something for the police, okay? That's not, like, a private citizen that just goes and runs somebody fucking down and kills them. You know, that's, like, No. All right. Ah, shit. Okay. Let's go on. Whatever. Intimate knowledge, immediate knowledge, whatever. You understand what I'm saying. All right. Let's see. Where were we? We were. I totally lost track of where we were. Sorry. This one, number 5, right? How are you not pulling the race card when the arguments I've heard have to do with criminal acts and not what skin color or race the suspect was? Ultimately, we're all confined by the law and what is legal and what isn't legal. Obviously, if you entered someone's property without permission, you technically committed a crime. Well, so it just so happens, you want to talk about the race card, right? It's because every time this happens, right, then we get the same reaction from right wingers in general. Okay. So every time there's a black guy who gets killed by a white person, whether that's like, you know, a police officer or like a regular citizen, kind of like, George Zimmerman or something, and the white person does not get punished, we get the same reaction. And that's where the racism part comes in. Because when a black person kills a white person, right, and isn't punished, that never happens. You don't hear about that. Okay, when was the last story that you remember where a black person killed a white person and then wasn't arrested? All right, I can't. Nothing comes to mind, right? Because it doesn't fucking happen. Okay, but this seems to happen all the time. Trayvon Martin, for example. Tamir Rice was another example. Cops, especially police officers. Police officers killing black people all the time, and then it turns out that the black person they killed had a toy gun, or were not armed, or fucking was the wrong guy, you know, or maybe they kill him by accident. Like, what was that one guy that was selling loose cigarettes and they like fucking strangled him to death? I can't remember his name. See, that's the thing. There's so many of them. It's like you tend to forget, because you can't keep track of fucking how many people die because of the goddamn police. And the thing is that it's not it's the fact that they're not punished. That's the part. Okay, it's not the fact that they get killed, right? It's the fact that they're killed and then nothing happens to the person who killed them. That's the bad, that's why people are upset, okay? Because people kill other people all the time in the country, right? Zimmerman was not arrested until this became a big thing, okay? I don't know if you remember that, right? The fact that what made people angry about Trayvon Martin was the fact that Zimmerman was not arrested until the news story hit big. All right, the Arbery people were not arrested until this story hit the news. Okay, it took them a month. All right, now imagine now here's you're asking, well, where's the race card come in? Imagine if Zimmerman was black and Trayvon Martin was white. Do you think that he wouldn't have been arrested? Huh? Do you really think that he wouldn't have been arrested? Imagine that Arbery was white and these two guys that fucking murdered him were black, right? Do you think it would have taken him a month to arrest them? Bullshit. Be fucking honest. Bullshit. Let's look. We have to be honest about this stuff. All right. Anyway, so let's get back to your comments here, though. All right. Obviously, all right. So criminal acts, right? The criminal act of trespassing. Remember that. That's a misdemeanor. All right. So the proper punishment for that, should have been giving him a fine or a ticket, not shooting him in the chest with a shotgun. All right. I mean, obviously, if you enter someone's property without permission, you technically committed a crime. Yes, you did, but does that crime mean that you should die? Does it mean that, does that crime warrant a death sentence? Right? And watch that video again. What crime did he take anything? No. All right. So the crime was just walking into a place looking around. Okay. I looked up, before we started this, I looked up what Arbery's occupation was. And you know what it was? He was a landscaper. Right? So maybe he went to that place, checking it out, and was going to come back later and ask the guy for a job, right? We don't know why he was there, okay? We don't know why he went into that building, all right? I mean, he could have gone there for a million reasons. Maybe he heard something. Maybe he just wanted to look at it. All right. And, you know, there weren't any fucking doors on the place and there was nobody there. I mean, have you never actually like trespassed on a construction site before? I have. You know, shit. I've done way worse than fucking that. Right? I've actually like, you know, gone into all kinds of fucking places that I'm not allowed to go. Nobody fucking shot me, right? Seriously, man, what the fuck? No, okay, they weren't shot because he trespassed. Yes, he was. Well, they followed him because he trespassed, which they weren't allowed to fucking do. He was shot because he attempted to resist arrest. They weren't cops. They were not police officers. Okay, that's the part we got to remember here. All right, you know, there is a yeah. Okay, so there's a law that says you can do citizen's arrest, right? What would you do if somebody came up to you and tried to citizen arrest you? What would you do? Tell them to go fuck themselves is what you would do. All right? That's what I would do. Because fuck you, okay? Like, who do you think you are? I'm gonna citizen arrest you. For what? What did I fucking do? You know? Seriously. Like, that is the reaction that you give somebody when they try to citizen arrest you. I'm gonna call the police. Yeah, call them. Fuck you. And then, you know, kiss my ass. That's the reaction you give. So, you know, don't try to tell me like these guys had no authority. All right, they didn't have the authority to detain him or arrest him. Okay, and they weren't supposed to follow him either, according to the same law that you're posting here. Remember that. I want you to remember that they don't. Yeah, so we can get to that if you want. Depends if they're armed. Okay, yeah, just kind of like I said last time. You know, in my last video, I made a little comment there about why people, you know, open carry, why they're armed, right? And I don't know if you saw that part of that last video, but it comes down to basically you're gonna do what I say. That's why people open carry. Okay, they open carry because it's an implied threat that if you mess with them, they'll kill you. They have the capability to kill you. That's the threat that somebody has when they have a gun on you, even if they're not pointing it at you. You know, even if you're just in a parking lot, you know, stopping off at Taco Bell to get some tacos, and the guy in line in front of you has a fucking pistol on him. Right? That's the message. The message is don't fuck with this guy. He'll fucking blow you away. Right? And like I said last time in my last video, you know, what do you do if someone who's open carrying starts acting like a dick? Like, what do you do if he cuts in front of you in line at the grocery store? Or, like, let's say he steals your parking space. That's what I said last time, right? Or let's say he dings your car door. Like, let's say you're in the parking lot and then the guy, like, getting into his car opens his car door and leaves a big ass dent in your car, right? But he's got a pistol on him. What do you do? Do you go up to him and be like, "Hey man, what the fuck did you do to my door?" No, you don't. You don't say shit. You know why? Because he'll kill you, right? That's the threat. Okay, that's the entire. You know, so, you know, that's the whole fucking reason why people carry guns. Okay, so they can like, you know, basically fucking threaten, you know, have that kind of low key threat like that, you know. And of course, the other reason is, oh well, I don't want to get robbed, or whatever, blah blah blah. Yeah, sure, okay. You don't want to get robbed, okay. You know, my dad was a cop for 30 years, right? He was also in the Air Force, kind of Air Force Reserves, right? He always carried a gun on him, constantly, all the time. In fact, one time when I was 17, he sent us out to the grocery store, me and my brother, and we got pulled over by a cop. And the cop looked down in between the seat, and lo and behold, there's a fucking pistol in between the seats, right? And we had to explain to this cop why we had a gun in the car. All right. And here's the thing, my dad always had that on him, you know, because as a police officer, even off-duty police officer, you're required to carry a gun with you, right? In California, at least. I don't know, it might be different elsewhere. He didn't bring that shit into the grocery store with him, okay? He didn't, like, you know, it was in the car, right, in case something happened, all right? He didn't, like, go to the fucking movies and bring the gun with him. Okay, he didn't show it off. He didn't flash his badge around and shit like that, or just have his gun on his fucking hip because he could. Okay, because that's, you know, threatening to people. It makes people feel uncomfortable. All right, And so imagine, now that they're pointing it at your fucking head, right? Telling you not to move and we're going to detain you for committing whatever crime, blah, 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 calling you a thief, saying they're going to shoot you in the face and shit if you try to run. What would you fucking do, all right? And you got to remember, these people that did this to this guy, they weren't cops. They were not police officers. Okay, so, it's one thing if it's a cop. If it's a cop, you know that, okay, well, if I do what he says, maybe he probably won't kill me. But, two random fucking dickheads that you don't know who they are, right? They're not showing you any ID or whatever. They're just basically screaming at you, comply, whatever, blah, 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 get on the ground, shut up. What the fuck do you think he was thinking? Okay, get the fuck out of my face, dude. That's bullshit. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go, because I do want to get to some other people's comments, so let's go down, because how many do you have? You have like 2 more, so let's go to number 6. Okay. Number 6. Arbery was killed because he attempted to steal a firearm from another person, attempting to make a very legal citizen's arrest. The very act of stealing a gun is a felony. Trespassing is not a felony, but a crime. Fleeing from arrest is also a crime. He attempted to steal a firearm from people who he thought were going to kill him. Okay? You gotta remember that. They thought he was going to kill him. Alright? 4 guys that you have no idea who they are. They're not cops. Pointing guns at you, screaming at you. Right? Telling you not to fucking move. All that shit. There's no audio on the tape, so we don't know what they were saying. Alright? For all we know, they could have been like screaming at him, calling him fucking like racial shit. Using the N-word. We don't even know what they were saying. Okay? We don't know. Alright? And so we don't know what the situation was. Okay? Maybe he just tried to walk away and they threatened to kill him if he did. We don't know. Alright? So, fucking, yeah. Okay, that's like, secondly, so the fact that he tried to take the gun, he was fearing for his life. Okay? Fearing for his life. And remember, these people were not police officers. So he didn't know that they weren't going to kill him. Right? They claimed they weren't going to kill him. How do we fucking know they weren't going to kill him? I mean, they ended up fucking shooting him. So how do we know that that wasn't their, like, entire reason for hunting his ass down in the first place? Citizen's arrest. Get the fuck out of here. The very act of stealing a gun is a felony. Yeah, well, the act of threatening somebody with a gun should be a felony too. I mean, that's like, at that point, it was self-defense. Okay, it's, if someone's pointing a gun at you and is going to kill you, let me ask you, okay, you're a libertarian, right? 1911, so you must know what the non-aggression principle means. Non-aggression principle, you must know what that is, right? And for our other viewers, the non-aggression principle is basically the libertarian theory of force, where, to sum it up, it basically means you only use force in self-defense, right? Your ability to swing your fist ends at my nose, And according to that, you should be able to own any kind of crazy-ass lethal weaponry you want, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as long as you don't actually threaten anybody or kill anybody with it, then you are not, violating the non-aggression principle. That's the idea, is that basically, you never swing first. You only use violence in self-defense, right? So, at what point does a threat actually violate that, right? Because if you go up to somebody and you point a gun in their face and you say, I'm going to kill you unless you come with me, right? To me, that sounds like that violates the non-aggression principle. Does it not? Okay? So now imagine, this guy, right? I want you to do this. I'm trying, because I know I've said this like 6 times already. Okay, but I want you to say that I want you to put yourself in this person's position. Right. This guy, who is suddenly surrounded by 2 trucks, has people pointing guns at his head, has no idea what's going on. The people that are pointing guns at him are not police officers. They're not in uniform. They're not showing him any like ID saying that they're cops, whatever. And they're basically threatening to fucking kill him if he tries to run away. Right. What would you think? Okay. I mean, it sounds like a life and death fucking situation to me. right? I'm sure that if it was you, 1911, since you're a gun dude, you would probably have a gun on you, and you probably would have pulled your gun in that situation, right? No, that's we don't know what they said. See, okay, more than likely they said, "Stay here, or we'll shoot you. You're under arrest." See, we don't know what they said. All right, that's an assumption. Okay, for all we know, they could have just been screaming at him, "Get on the ground! Get on the ground!" You know, we have no fucking clue what happened. Right? It's because these guys were not police officers. We have to emphasize that as well. So they didn't have the training. One guy was an ex-cop. The other three dudes were not cops. They didn't have any fucking training to arrest somebody, right? Do they have handcuffs on them? No. Okay. Seriously, what the fuck? So how do you expect them to handle it right if shit goes south? That's another reason why we don't allow vigilantes in this country, okay? You know, the whole point, like, there's this myth. There's a myth that right wingers and shit have that, if everybody was armed, there wouldn't be any crime, right? And in real life, what would happen if everybody was armed? Then everybody would fucking shoot each other. Because that's what really happens when everybody's armed. You get stories of people shooting the wrong guy. Like there was one, actually, I don't have the link on me, but there was a story I read about a guy who robbed a Home Depot, and a lady in the parking lot pulled out her gun and started shooting at him, but it turns out she shot the wrong fucking person. I'll dig it up and I'll put it in the little description after this goes, right? Because that's what ends up fucking happening. Okay, so then you say like, well, maybe everybody needs the training, blah blah blah. Yeah, well, maybe, but people don't have all the fucking training that police and like, soldiers and shit have when it comes to their guns. Okay, because there isn't any law that says you have to be trained to own a gun. All right, because it's a right. It's your Second Amendment right says you can just go buy one. So fucking any Yahoo out there can buy one if they, are a convicted felon or whatever the fuck. I don't know. So that's the problem, okay? So, these fucking four dudes, we don't know what kind of training they had. We don't know what they said, right? Seriously, so just, put yourself in the victim's position here and think about what actually fucking happened, right? Seriously, I don't know. Let's move on. Number 7. Let's see. Number 7. How can you mind your own business when on someone else's property? Obviously, you're being nosy, which isn't minding your own business, and a minimum, and trespassing if on another person's property without permission. Well, um, it's not against the law to be nosy, and even if it was, it's not a death sentence. Okay, and trespassing is not a death sentence, right? And if you're just looking around at something, then, guess what? You're minding your own business. If I walk by somebody's house, all right, and I look in their yard and they have flowers and I stop and I look at their flowers, maybe I'm being nosy, right? But, let's say I step a foot on their lawn, that's technically trespassing. Are they allowed to just blow me away because of that? Right? Like, what is this shit? See, this is what do you see the logical leaps that you're taking here in order to make the victim into the aggressor? Do you understand what you're doing? Okay. Because, and I just, and you ask me, well, about the race card. If this was a white person, you wouldn't be doing this, right? Don't say that you would, because you wouldn't be, all right? You wouldn't for half a fucking second be sitting here going, oh, these guys had a criminal record and they trespassed and all this other shit. You wouldn't be saying any of this shit if it was a white guy who, was killed by 4 black guys at all. It wouldn't even come up. And the reason why it wouldn't even come up is because the 4 black guys would be in prison by now. All right? Let's be real about this. Let's not bullshit ourselves, So, yeah, see, all of that, question 7 is irrelevant. All that entire thing is irrelevant. It doesn't fucking matter what happened. What matters is they didn't see him committing a crime, and he wasn't a threat to anybody, and they had no legal right to chase him anyway, because whatever, if he did commit a crime, it was a fucking misdemeanor. So remember that, all right? All right. Number 8. Can you think of any concise example where this situation would be ruled legitimate even in your own estimation? Well, if they saw him committing a crime, then maybe it would be legitimate to actually follow him. Okay. Remember, they did not see him committing a crime, you know? He didn't like, the video showed he didn't steal anything, and trespassing is not good enough. It's a misdemeanor. So, if that video actually did show him stealing something, right? Let's say that. Or if they actually witnessed it with their own eyes, then yeah, then they would be legally, entitled to a hot pursuit, right? Is what they call that. They could have gone and followed him, right? But even then, even if they actually saw him steal something, right? They never should have got out of their fucking trucks and pointed their guns at him, okay? That's the point where this went off the fucking rails. What they should have done, even if they did see him steal something, what they should have done is followed him, called the cops, say, hey, we have a guy right here. We have video of him stealing something. This is where he is. And then followed him all the way back to his fucking house and then said, this is where his address is. Please send somebody to go pick him up. That's what they should have fucking done. Instead, they wanted to play fucking vigilante, right? Ex-cop wanted to like relive his fucking glory days or whatever, right? And they got out and pointed their fucking shotguns at people. Pointed their shotguns at their heads because they have that goddamn stupid-ass fucking myth in their heads that good people with guns can fight crime and shit. That's where it went wrong. Okay, the fact that they like even followed him armed in the first place, that's where it went wrong. They shouldn't have done that. So anyway, moving on. Obviously, the assumption here is that even if the police were to investigate and the suspect struggled and attempted to steal firearms from police officers, you still wouldn't approve of lethal force from bonded uniformed police officers. No, I, at that point, would be upset that that happened, right, if the police shot an unarmed man. However, if he was fighting with the police, that's different. See, you're not allowed to fight with police, all right? If the cops show up and they want to arrest you, it is against the law to fight with them. And you should just let them arrest you. And if you didn't do anything, then you'll get off, okay? That's how it's supposed to fucking work, all right? These people were not police officers. I want to make that clear. So that when you say, what if they were cops? That's irrelevant. They were not police officers, all right? So there is no law that says you have to just sit there and let some fucking random wacko with a gun, detain you or kidnap you or force you to get into a car or anything. There's no law that says you have to fucking do that, okay? It's self-defense to fight back at that point, all right? They're not cops, all right? Please understand that, okay? I mean, yeah, and if they were police officers and he did this, yeah, it would be upsetting. And there may be questions about, what happened, right? And maybe they shouldn't have done that, but if he was fighting the cops and he ended up getting shot, that's different, okay? That's different because they're police officers. We empower the police to go out and find criminals, all right? And, we empower them to be able to use lethal force, in cases like this, right? And you would assume that the police would have actually done a little bit of investigating. They made sure they got the right guy, right? And all of that shit. And not just fucking find some random dude on the street that they think is it, because that's what these guys did. They saw a video, right? Say, hey, look, some dude was looking around. They went out driving around. Hey, look, there he is, right? They didn't like fucking take any like, police officers will put out like a description and all that. Here's your suspect, they'll pull you over, they'll ask you questions and that kind of thing. They don't just jump out of the car with guns blazing, especially in a case like this. Do you think like, a trespassing case, right? That like a cop would jump out of the car with a shotgun? No, all right? Because that's a crime that merits a ticket. So, seriously. And so anyway, I just want to, because I would like to actually get to some of the other questions from some of the other people, that are here. I noticed Raf's here. How you doing, Raf? Good to see you. So that's where we can end that. Okay, the distinction is they were not cops. All right, and please recognize that. Please recognize that you know, these guys were like fucking, vigilantes, right? You're under no obligation to obey when a fucking vigilante like tries to detain you. All right, you're not. So anyway, okay. Fuck. Holy shit. Uh, my head hurts now. How long we been streaming? let me uh Let me check something out here, guys. Let me just kind of go over here and let's reduce that. It's been about an hour. Okay, well, I do want to talk about, I do want to let some other people talk or, ask questions, because so far this whole thing has just been me addressing your comments there, 1911. So let me just make this bigger. All right. Now, here's the thing, but before I move on, none of this is against you personally, 1911, okay? Because, I don't think you're a bad person, all right? I just think that, you and I have much differing opinions on a lot of things, right? And I want you to understand why I think this, okay? Like, why am I like, saying these things? It's because this is not the first time this happened, okay? It happens every time. Every single time that a black guy gets shot by a white person and the white person does not get punished, this is what happens. And you're not the only one. There was another guy on that video who was named Jack Burton. I don't know if you've ever seen Big Trouble in Little China. That's fucking, the main character's name is Jack Burton. And I got in the same argument with him, the same thing. And I ended up deleting a lot of his comments because he was an asshole. Right? So you're not the only one who thinks this. And this is why I want you to understand where my position is, where I'm coming from. Right? And, please try to recognize when you do this, okay? Because it's like, it's just something that it's repeatable like clockwork every time. Every time we have this, every time there's a cop shooting, every time there's a guy that's killed by a civilian, and they fucking get away with it, and they always get away with it, and due in no small part to all the public support they get from, people out there in the internet and shit. So, anyway, whatever, you understand, Zimmerman was Latino, not white. You get what I'm fucking saying, alright? So, anyway, I do want to kind of see what some other people were saying here. Let me just kind of go through some of the comments. I see Cody Corse, if you're still there, Cody, you asked me a question about Elon Musk. Let's see. How do you feel about Elon Musk recently throwing a temper tantrum, not being able to open up his factory? What pisses me off is how many people always defend this guy. How do I feel about that? I'd say fuck Elon Musk, actually. That's my... But, yeah, I guess... Okay, here's the thing about that, alright? We are going to be facing an extremely bad economic situation in this country very soon, right? Especially, due to COVID-19 and the fact that, like, everybody got laid off and shit. The reason why we're going to face this, probably depression, levels of fucking, like, job losses and stuff like that, it's not just gonna go back to normal if they like release the COVID lockdown restrictions, right? It's not. Okay. What is it? 20 million people right now, or 30 million people, something like that, on unemployment. I mean, shit, I'm one of them, right? That just doesn't like suddenly overnight. Okay, it's open. Get your job back. No, that's not what's gonna happen. Okay. A lot of these businesses, a lot of small businesses, are pretty much probably going to go out of business permanently, right? And if we're lucky, it'll be a recession, right? If we're lucky, it'll be something like, if you remember 2008, once the economy collapsed in 2008, and we had like, big chain stores going out of business, things like Circuit City and Kmart, blah blah blah, right? KB Toys. Like, if we're lucky, that's the least that'll happen. And I think it's going to be way worse than that. I think that and what happened? How did we handle it? How did our politicians handle it? They took a bunch of money and they gave it to the super wealthy people and the corporations, right? They gave us all $1,200 each. I don't know about you. I already spent my $1,200, right? And if you're lucky to even get it, a lot of people didn't even get that money yet for whatever fucking reason. Whether they had bills to pay, like outstanding debts that automatically took it, or in some cases the banks were allowed to, like, if they had a debt with the banks were allowed to take that money, shit like that. Another thing, if you had child support, then that would, like, automatically go to your child support. That happened to my brother, right? Um, so a lot of people didn't even get the fucking $1,200, right? In the meantime, people like Elon Musk and his company got billions and billions and billions of dollars. So that's why the stock market, right, is like doing fucking gangbusters. How do you have, like, what is, like, 15, almost 20% unemployment, and then a stock market that is, like, high, right? The stock market should be in the goddamn toilet right now, and it's not. Why is that? It's because they basically injected a shitload of money into it. you know. So, same thing that happens every time the Republicans cut taxes, it happened again. So the idea was like, okay, well, we're going to give them all this money, and they were supposed to take it, right? And they were supposed to use that money to not lay people off. They didn't do that. All the corporations didn't do that. Instead, they laid a bunch of people off, right? They took the money, they did stock buybacks. Again, okay? That's what happens and the reason they do stock buybacks, right, is because there's no demand for their products or services, okay? So if there's a product, or, if there's demand for your product, right? Like, let's say you sell, I don't know, dildos or something, right? And if there's demand for your fucking dildos, then you go and you take the money that you got and you hire people and you make another order and you go get, and you go sell a bunch of your stuff, Let's not say dildos. Let's say, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, something. Widgets, I guess, right? Let's not be too dirty. Anyway, but if there's no demand, what do you do with the money? Okay, well, if there's no demand, it's wasting the money to invest it in your company. If there's no demand, you're just wasting it, right? So what do they do with it? They basically just give it to themselves. They do a stock buyback. So that's what happened again, and it's like every time, I don't know, I don't understand why people don't get that it happens over and over and over again. It's basically their only fucking move. So really, other countries out there aren't facing a depression like we are. Canada's not facing a depression, right? Oh, hey, Raph, thanks, man. Um, See you later. I'm probably gonna end this pretty soon, in maybe about 15 minutes or so. Also, I got food there waiting for me. I'm hungry. Anyway, Canada's not facing a depression. There might be like an economic downturn, but not as bad as ours. And it's because, they bailed their companies out, right? And their companies didn't lay a bunch of people off and do stock buybacks. Same thing in, like, Germany. Okay? So that's why we're facing way harder, a much more bleak economic future than, like, you know, other countries, right? And so this is the reason why Donald Trump and the Republicans and, the upper 1% basically are in such a rush to reopen the country, right? Because, mainly because they see that it's like, if it goes on, the longer it goes on, the worse the economic news is going to get. Right. See, I'm not exactly against reopening the country myself. I think it might be a good idea to, you know, get some shit going, because, it's basically unsustainable, especially if they're not going to give us any more stimulus. Then that's your choice. You either have stimulus or you have people working, right? You can't have one without the other. You know what I mean? Like, if they're not going to, like, for example, in Canada, they're giving everybody $2,000 a month, right? There's no fucking way in hell we're going to get that here. You know, there actually is a bill going through the House right now that was introduced by Bernie Sanders to actually do that. It has a snowball's chance in hell of actually passing. There's no way in hell. You know, the Democrats won't let it go through, let alone the fucking Republicans. You know, so forget it. You know, it's not going to fucking happen. It's ridiculous, right? I mean, I applaud them for trying, you know. So if they're not going to like pay, you know, if they're not going to give people some form of relief, some form of UBI, right, which they won't, the only other way we have for people to survive is to get them jobs. Okay. And you know, the thing is we can have people going to work and be, you know, safe at the same time. Okay. You just have people, you know, if you work in an office, you telecommute, you know. If you work in a store or something, you have, you know, masks and the key to that is that you need to have testing. You know, I know that this is what they say in the news. You got to have like cheap, effective testing. Anybody should be able to go get a test anytime they want, even if they're not showing symptoms, you know. So, for example, if you own a restaurant and you want people to come back and work at your restaurant, you should be able to go, okay, go get a test. And if you pass the test, you know, if you shows that you don't have, you know, you're not currently infectious, then you should be able to come back to work, right? And it should still be like, okay, all the tables are 6 feet apart and people have to wear masks, right? And maybe in restaurants, it's like you have outdoor seating only. You know, there's lots of different things you can do in order to make people safe because it's like we're going to have to eventually. We're going to have to do it. You know, a lot of people on the left are like saying that we shouldn't do anything at all and that everybody should just stay home and blah blah blah. That's fine and dandy, and that would be the way to go. But we don't have the political will in the country to actually do that. So the only other way to do it is to try to stay safe, you know, while working, right? I mean, those are our choices. So one of them's not going to happen. So it's got to be the other one. Well, you know, the thing with like Trump, and he doesn't want to take those extra steps. He doesn't want to like provide the testing. There was a thing that I saw on David Pakman actually, where he just basically said testing is overrated, right? And because they're not going to spend the money to do it. Like they got no fucking problem giving all the corporations $4 trillion, right? But when it comes to spending that kind of money on the American people, he doesn't want to do it. And it's like I don't fucking understand. It's like, is he trying to lose the fucking election? I don't understand, right? Anyway, so you know, it's like, yeah, okay, I don't know. It's like I see where they're coming from. I see where they're coming from. They really, if they want people to go back to work, you know, they need to provide these things. They need to provide, like, you should be able to go down to any grocery store and get a mask for free or extremely cheap, you know, $10 for a pack of 10 masks or something like that. You should be able to get them, you know, seriously. Like, you should be able to go to the post office and get it, right? You know, you should be able to like drive through testing like they have in South Korea. Once they provide that shit, then yeah, maybe go, you know, maybe you should be able to go back to work once they have those things. Once you can go get a test, show that you're not communicable, and like if you're an employer, you should require that of all your employees so that you know that they're not spreading a virus around to make people sick. And you should be tested once a week, shit like that. That's what they need to fucking do, but they're not actually taking those steps. So I don't know. It's like, you know, if you're not going to take those steps, then that means that people are putting themselves at risk to go back to work, right? Which is like, so I don't, you know, I can't support that. I can't support putting people at risk so that they can go to work. You know, I mean, the thing is, I know that that's probably what's going to end up happening anyway. You know, it's like people are going to get desperate. They're not going to, and they're going to say, fuck it. I'm either going to be homeless or I'm going to be putting myself at risk, and that's what's going to happen. And I swear to God, if they don't blame the Republicans for this shit in November, then our country's fucking hopeless. Anyway, so, okay, sorry, I know I kind of went off a little bit on that one. Thanks, Cody. Let's see. Okay, second one by Cody. By the same token, I noticed people trying to turn the tables around and argue that stay-at-home measures have caused a rise in suicide, spousal abuse, child abuse, and drug abuse. Yeah, it has, but I mean, it's not like, you know, I guess, I mean, it has, yeah, but what's worse, like dying? Right? I mean, I guess those are just problems that were already there, and just, I don't think the COVID lockdown caused those problems, you know. Um, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what to say to that. it's just it's just shitty. It's like I think just people are just depressed, and I think it's people are pent up and they want to go outside and they want to go to the movies and they want to go to the mall and all that other shit. And and I can understand sometimes if you're stuck at home with your family and shit for too long, you start getting antsy and especially if you got kids, they're pissing you off, whatever. You know, I mean, shit. I totally understand the using work as an escape. Because I've actually done that myself in the past. Back when I used to live at home with my parents and stuff. I've definitely used work as an escape to get out of the house, and even sometimes lied and said I had to go to work when I didn't, just so I could get out of the house. Right? So I understand that. I understand your family driving you a little nuts, but I don't know. I think that's a bigger question about the health of our society, really. Let's see. 1911. It is understandable. Quarantine isn't sustainable. People get heated with just a 20% cap at work. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. Is that. See, I agree. I agree with you there. The quarantine is not sustainable. As much as we like it. It's not sustainable because they're not taking the steps to make it sustainable. You know, they could do that, but it's like we don't have sufficient leadership to make it, a viable option. So, let's see. Some other questions. Well, you know what? It's getting late. I'm getting hungry. Winter Snow, how you doing? Thanks for joining. It's late. What time is it? It's been an hour. Do you guys have any other questions that you want me to talk about before we end this? I know this one was just mainly me ranting at one person. And 1911, if you're still watching, please don't take it personally. This is not against you personally. It's just, man, like I said before, I want you to understand, you know, how we're seeing it. I want you to understand what it looks like and what's actually happening. But I don't know. Anyway, the floor is now open. So if you guys got something you want to talk about, let's talk about. I can talk about it, and if not, then I got some Thai food that's getting cold. So, let's see. Cody, maybe it's time for the northern states to secede to Canada. Republicans will, of course, being shitting themselves. At least their prime minister is an adult, unlike Donald Trump. Well, it would be nice, I guess, but I don't know, man. I don't like Canadian money. It looks funny to me. But anyway, all right, guys. Yeah, you know what? I'm like really hungry, so thanks for joining. It's been about an hour, so why don't we keep this one? Um, let's keep this one at about an hour, and the next show we'll do will be a little more less ranting, more substance. Anyhow, here's their latest progress of our artwork that we've been working on for the last 6 live streams. I think maybe next time we'll just start a new one and I'll just finish this on my own and then show it to you guys. Let's see. But I do, like I have to at the end of every live stream now, I have to pimp my stuff. So let's see. Let's turn this guy on. Yeah, okay. So I have to show you guys. Wait a minute. What is actually happening here? Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Left monitor. And let's make this smaller. Okay. Let's put this over here. There we go. So, like I do at the end of every live stream, I gotta pimp all my stuff. So here's my Patreon. You've all heard it before. If you want to join my Patreon for $1, I will give you early access to videos and give you a shout out. For $10, I will make a video on the subject of your choice. So you got, radioactive underwater bear wrestling. I will make that video, whatever. And $20, I will give you a choice of items from my SD store and everything at the other levels as well. Okay, this is weird. I don't know why that's not fitting. Anyway, speaking of SD, this is my SD store. So I do these prints like this. So if you like my channel and you like what I do and you don't want to, join Patreon, you can just buy something from my store and that'll support me that way. Just to kind of show you, these are like coffee stained prints. They're like, this one's like 11 by 17, like that, and each one comes out unique. They kind of feel like old, it kind of feels like leather when it's done, but it's actually paper. And then I also do my own comics and stuff that I sell on here. So I put some new ones on here. These two are actually new. This is supposed to be Moloch. He's like a demon and stuff. Right. And no, and so on. Here's another one. This is my own design. Anyway, so if you like what I do, please consider buying something. I do have an Instagram. You can follow me there at Dirty Kitchen Press on Instagram. I usually post sketches and things on here that don't go on any of my other sites, mainly just artwork, that kind of thing. Speaking of artwork, this is my Deviantart page. So I post a lot of stuff here, usually 2 or 3 times a week. Been doing a lot of comics lately, but mainly a lot of it is just like, sketches and different full colored things and sculptures and shit like that, right? Speaking of comics, I do have a webcomic. This is my webcomic. It is Dirty Kitchen Comics, and that's at hawanja.com. So this is one side, and then the other side is actually called Hawanja, which is about ninjas and stuff like that. Anyway, so hawanja.com, check out my webcomic, and it also has links to all of this shit on the side here. And then my other YouTube channel is called UCD Videos. So this is started out as a gaming channel, where I would look at gaming hardware, mainly 8-bit, 16-bit stuff like that, and I started doing game reviews, and then I moved on to doing movie reviews and toy reviews, that kind of thing, because I'm a toy collector. So anyway, please consider checking all that stuff out if you like what I do, and thank you all so much for coming. Let me turn back on my video capture device. Video capture device, turn on. What the hell? What's not there?